Hi, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another edition of Veganish with your host, Dr. Monique. I am your host. I'm Dr. Monique, physician in the kitchen. And on this show, we help healthy individuals, we help busy families. Um, it's been a minute, y'all. Give me a second. We help you to live your best life as far as nutrition wise. That's what we're doing today. I apologize. I'm a little distracted. My thoughts and prayers are with folks in Florida and up and down the coast in that area. So definitely be safe. We hope everyone is okay. I know Ellis and I were talking about it before the show. So if you have family or loved ones are in the area, we certainly, our thoughts and prayers are with you at this time. So
Absolutely. And to the fans and family of Coolio, which was a shock to
right.
see that at 59. So, and the early reports are saying it was natural causes, but I'm like 59 is a little.
That's not little. That's still young.
That's
That's
young for natural
very
causes.
young. That's still
I just
young. And
it didn't sit
well,
right.
but it's kind of what we talk about on the show, right? And I don't know anything about his medical conditions or anything, so
Right.
please don't take it to mean that way. But we know that risk factors for heart disease and things do start to go up, in in men, particularly in their 40s. So I wish his family condolences at this time as well. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and start recognizing folks who are starting to chime in. This is where we rep your city and your zip code, your state, your country, your continent, wherever you're watching us from tonight. I see Agnes is watching from New York City. Yes, New York won. I'm a little bit competitive, and some weeks it's like the Midwest comes in first, or the West Coast. So tonight we've got Trinidad and Tobago. I love it. That's on my list. I have not made it to those islands yet, but they're on my list. And then we've got Suffolk, Virginia. So yes, thank you all so much for watching. Please be sure to go ahead and tag a friend, tell them to come on in. We've got a lot to talk about tonight. I'm going to start off with an interesting study that I actually came across. So I have to tell you all, I'm 52. I think I've shared with you all. I'm in that second half of the century of my life, and I've started doing things that I wasn't doing before. Like I've started drinking bourbon, just experimenting, kind of getting some little, trying to elevate my palate. And I've also started drinking coffee. And you may be like, what? Like, why have you not been drinking coffee? But somehow I've made it through medical school and residency. I just never had a taste for it. When I was a little girl, my grandmother used to make it, and she would put milk in it, so it was like what is it, cafe au lait or whatever. But now I've discovered coffee. I went to Jamaica recently, and I got some the Blue Mountain.
Blue Mountain. Blue Mountain.
It's delicious. It's really delicious. And so here recently, I was like, okay, let me try this. And just the other day, I came across a study that says coffee is linked to reduced cardiovascular disease and mortality. That's great news. And so you may wonder, well, I mean, why would coffee be bad for you, right? So it's interesting, though. The pendulum is kind of swung back and forth on, is coffee bad for you? Is it good for you? Is it bad for you? So this study is kind of swinging back the other way, and it's a prospective study, though. So that means that they're just watching people. There's no intervention. It's not a randomized, controlled, blind, all that. So they just got a group of people, had them tell over the years how much coffee they drank, and then they watched to see what they died from or what conditions they developed. And this is over in Australia, so take it as you will. But they looked at people who drank ground, instant, and decaffeinated coffee, and they saw that it was associated with significant reductions in new cardiovascular disease, which is like clogged arteries, so it causes heart attacks, and mortality, which is death. So compared to those who did not drink coffee. So very interested. And they also found that ground and instant coffee also decreased the risk of a certain arrhythmia called atrial fibrillation, which is actually a risk factor for stroke. So lots more to be kind of unpacked from this, but I mean, the evidence looks like it's going in the right direction, or the data looks like they're going in the right direction. There was, the issue of, though, is this because, like, what came first? Do healthy people tend to drink coffee, or does coffee make people healthy? So things like that, questions like that need to be answered. But I just thought that was interesting. So Terry says,
You know what? I would say this. I wish I drank coffee. I don't drink
you wish you
coffee.
drink.
I wish I did, because I would get off of those energy drinks, right?
Oh
Because
yeah,
that's
yeah,
that kind of manufactured caffeine,
yeah.
and coffee has a
Extra
natural.
sugar, all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
you got the natural. I drink the sugar free, but still they have those unnatural sweeteners
right.
in those drinks. And so, yeah, if I could develop that taste, I would, because it's more natural and it probably would be better for me long
Yeah,
term from these type of.
me
I don't think I've heard any study or report say that energy drinks
are good for you, right?
good for you.
Yeah,
So
and I think when I mentioned that that coffee had been on the naughty list, I really think it's more what we add to the coffee, just like salads, right? I mean,
yeah.
salads can be bad for you if you add all this other stuff to it. So I mean, it comes it's a natural substance, and if you prepare it in certain ways, I don't see why it wouldn't be beneficial. But um, so we've got some folks saying that you can't drink it; it tears. Oh, that's not good. It looks like sounds like it caused some GI upset. And then another face says she drinks it every morning. Yeah, so keep doing what you're doing. And the amount that they studied was 2 to 3 cups. 2 to 3 cups of coffee every day. Now, of course, some
Wow.
people, when they drink, coffee versus past a certain time, they get insomnia. So, you want to keep that in mind. But yeah, cup of Joe sounds like it's the way to go.
Yeah, just don't put all that stuff that like the frappuccinos where they put all the
Yeah,
sugar and the
right.
caramel and the whipped cream and the milk and all that stuff. That's when it starts losing some of its
Exactly.
health benefits. But yeah, just coffee with a little sugar, cream, a little cream, sugar, you should be all right.
Yeah, and actually, I've been using like some plant-based creamer as well. So yeah, it's
Okay.
I've been living life. I'm enjoying it. So yeah, I guess the point of this whole story is it's never too late to discover a new favorite or to try something new. So
I'm
go
with
for
you on
it.
the bourbon though. Welcome
Oh,
to the dark side.
like I said, everything in moderation. And technically, bourbon is vegan, right? I mean, it's
Yeah, yeah.
grain. So
It
all
is.
right.
It is.
Well, today we're going to be talking about vitamins and minerals. We've had some questions about vitamins and minerals. Kind of comes up, right? Because we're always talking about plant based, right? And no, spoiler alert here, but fruits and vegetables are excellent sources of these micronutrients. But the question sometimes comes up about supplements. Do you need vitamin supplements? Well, apparently, somebody thinks you do because it's like a $30 billion industry, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to talk, we're going to get into that. But first, let's kind of run down what vitamins what vitamins and minerals are, because we tend to use those two. We say one, but we don't tend to say one without the other. So vitamins are basically, they're micronutrients. So that just means that you only need a small amount for your body to use and to process. But it's optimal. It's important for optimal bodily functions. So they're tiny but powerful, right? So you need them in small amounts, and we can't make them. So these are things that we can't make ourselves, and so we do have to take them in some form. But the question is, do we take them in just for what we eat, or do we have to supplement with things that you buy in the store? So there's and they're part of a bigger group of nutrients called essential nutrients. So that's minerals, vitamins, essential fatty acids, and essential amino acids. So today we're going to just be talking about the vitamins and minerals. So we call it A to Z, vitamins and minerals from A to Z, because vitamins have letters as names. And then so we're going to talk a little bit about kind of what they do, and then we'll get into where you can find them in the foods and all that. So the vitamins we need to know about are vitamin A, the B family of vitamins, because it's about 7 or 8 B vitamins, vitamin C, vitamin D, vitamin E, and vitamin K. Those are the main. Over the years, they've had other vitamins, but they kind of, the names didn't stick. So we go with those. So vitamin A, I think everybody kind of, you probably have heard about vitamin A. It's the one that helps you with your eyes. People, we talk about macular degeneration, keeping your eyes healthy, skin, hair, all of that. Vitamin A is good for that, and it's beta carotene. That's the antioxidant. That's the property or the plant chemical that vitamin A is found in. So you're going to find this in your yellow and orange foods. And we talked about this, a few weeks ago when we did the Eat the Rainbow. or eat the rainbow as far as your fruits and vegetables. But vitamin A is one of those that you want to be sure you're getting. The B vitamins, I tend to think of these collectively as the category or the vitamins that help us make our tissues, like as far as like brain tissue and nervous tissue and um, muscle. So think about it like, and in this group, we have thiamine B1, which is thiamine, B2, which is riboflavin. The big one that people tend to think about in this group is vitamin B9, but it's more commonly called folic acid. That's the one that we tell pregnant women. Actually, we tell you to start taking it before you get pregnant,
Yeah.
because a lot of times women, maybe a few weeks pregnant before they know it. So women of childbearing age should be getting an adequate source of folic acid or folic because it helps reduce birth defects, specifically in the spinal column, the lower part of the spine. Vitamin C. Everyone knows vitamin C. This time of year, folks are reaching for
You
the
forgot
vitamin.
B12. What about B12?
B12. You're right. B12. Thank you.
Okay, I'm about to say, give me that B12.
You're right. You're right. You're right. You see how you came for me about that B12?
Serious
So
about the
B12,
B12.
and I'm so glad you pulled my coat on that one because B12, vitamin B12, I think is first of all, it's important. Of course, it helps with blood cell formation. It helps with our nerves. But most people who eat meat actually have a sufficient amount of vitamin B12. So I think there's a large placebo effect. So when people get to feel tired or one run down, they go to the doctor and they get a shot and they say, well, I need my B12. Well, what is your B12 level? Because if your B12 level is normal, why do you need a shot? But if I gave you a shot of like saline, salt water, and I told you this shot is going to make you feel better, there's probably about a 30 to 40% chance that you're going to feel better because I told you it was going to feel better. That's called the placebo effect. So, to me, giving somebody with a normal B12 level a shot of B12, don't really know that makes sense. But for people who have been vegan for a long time, who may not have any meat, have not taken, because our body stores it. Our body can store vitamin B12 for quite some time. For strict vegans, they may want to look at supplements if they're not getting in their diet and things like mushrooms or nutritional yeast or fortified milks or things like that. So that's vitamin B12. Vitamin C is you think about that for our immune system, right? When cough, cold kind of thing, people reach for that vitamin C, but it's full of antioxidants, or it is an antioxidant, and ascorbic acid is the other name for it, and so it helps to boost the immune system as well. It can also help with calcium metabolism for I'm sorry, that's vitamin D, but vitamin C is helpful for your immune system. Vitamin D, that's the one that we know is a sunshine vitamin because you get it, your skin uses it to make the vitamin. It's also found in dairy products like milk, fish, and eggs, things like that. And then vitamin E is also
D is also for your immune system as well, because it became very, very
yes,
popular
with
during
COVID.
COVID.
Exactly.
A lot of folks that were anti-vaccine were saying you just need to increase your vitamin D, and there was a correlation between the especially with Black and brown folks that were experiencing the worst reaction from
With
COVID.
the
They had
lungs.
lower
Yep.
levels of vitamin D, and that's why everybody said, "Oh, you need to get vitamin D, and that helped protect COVID." No, just Black and brown people typically have lower levels of vitamin D, and so it was correlation, not a causation kind of situation. But
So there, yes, and they saw is more severe lung involvement in people with low vitamin D levels. The verdict though about do Black people have lower levels of vitamin D? That's the last I've heard on that or read on that. That's actually may or may not be true because the lab values for certain populations may need to be adjusted in African Americans. And so what may be reading as a low level of vitamin D may actually be well within normal for that population. So wanted to take that with a grain of salt because we see that also too with white blood cell counts. Sometimes those run lower in African Americans than they do in other populations. So then we've got
I just did a show on multiple myeloma. There's some levels in multiple myeloma when they're testing for that. There's some levels when that Black people folks have different levels, and so they're not popping higher, and so that's why Black people are getting diagnosed with multiple myeloma later. than their white
Mhm.
counterparts because it's a leveling situation. So that's why we've got to participate in clinical trials, and that's
Yep.
why we have to make sure that we go on a regular basis so our data gets added to the system, and so they can say, oh, okay, well, here's what's normal for Black folks. I'm sorry, I got on the soapbox right quick.
Good point. No, but you bring up a good point. Next, we got vitamin E. And so this one is with the one people tend to think of, along with vitamin B7, which is biotin. Vitamin E can also help with skin, hair, nails, things like that. And it's found, it's a fat soluble one. So you find it in things like oils, seeds, nuts, whole grains. Sounding familiar? And then vitamin K. Vitamin K is the one that helps the liver make blood clotting factors, things that proteins that help your blood to clot, because clotting is good, right? When you cut yourself, you don't want to bleed out. So those vitamin K plays a role in that. And to a lesser extent, there are some bacteria in the gut that can make small amounts of the vitamin K, but for the most part, it is something we get in our dark leafy green vegetables. And then quickly to talk about just minerals, you can kind of probably name these, but there's major and minor. So major is calcium, magnesium, potassium, sodium, and phosphorus. They are going to help with your bones, your teeth. For calcium, potassium actually helps with muscle and nerve function. And so really important for your heart, right? Because high levels of potassium in the blood can be harmful to the heart, as can low levels of potassium. So people always think, oh, you need to eat a banana if you're cramping, and that may be one of those old wives' tales, but it does play a role in blood pressure as well. So potassium is nerve, muscle, and blood pressure. Magnesium plays a role in bone growth and health, as well as nerve function, and also as well as your GI tract. If you think about, milk of magnesia is out there for problems, stomach problems. So magnesium helps with the movement of items through the GI tract. And then sodium, or salt as we know it, helps with blood pressure and blood volume control, as well as nerve and muscle function as well. And then phosphorus is the one that we see that, as far as we do, helps with your kidney function, bones, muscles, nerves. And then you have other trace elements, the ones that we call trace elements, like your iron, copper, zinc, iodine, so, and a few others. So that's kind of a whirlwind tour of vitamins and minerals. Anything on that list jump out at you, Ellis, other than vitamin B12 that you are very passionate about?
Well, I think I've become really, really sensitive to, as a result of COVID. So like zinc, I heard a lot about zinc and its properties in terms of being able to, people take it when they start catching a cold.
Right.
Yeah, and they've got those lozenges, and that's just zinc. And so they said zinc will help lower the span of a cold. So I know about that. Iron, so people that are anemic. So people say they give them iron. They say you should get more iron in your body when you're anemic. So those things, like some of those things are like you just learn about along the way, but you know about your calcium and your vitamin D. Vitamin K didn't never really thought about it, but when we're talking about kidney function, especially when you have Black folks and chronic kidney disease, you want to start thinking about it. And so this is why when all of these shows that we've been doing here for like a year now, they all make sense, right? Because we start putting it all together. That's why you have to get a family history. If you have a family history, you go get a good blood work of where your levels are, and then all of us can't afford a nutritionist, but you can have a consultation with one after you get this information. So then your nutritionist can say, hey, here's some foods, here's some things that you can add to your diet to kind of help your levels if you're deficient in some levels. But you need to have all that information and a good family history of knowing what potentially could be a problem for you in your life. Maybe, you can't just say, I'm just going to dump a whole bunch of these vitamins and minerals in my body and I'm not going to have this. Let's not go that far. Remember the disclaimer. But this could help your body's functioning in those areas where there might be some deficiencies. And so,
well, no, that's a great point. And I wanted to circle back to vitamin K because you mentioned that, and it's funny. A lot people don't tend to know about or think about vitamin K, but there's a subset of people who do, and those are people who take Coumadin or a blood, which is a blood thinner. And so, because vitamin K and leafy greens, there's an interaction where if you're eating excessive amounts, I'm sorry, not the interaction is between the leafy greens and the medicine, the Coumadin. Or warfarin is the other name for it.
Mhm.
So if you're, not that you can't eat leafy greens, but your doctor will, that's one of the blood tests or one of the medicines that has to be monitored to make sure your blood levels are in a certain range. And there are newer medicines now that don't require that, but Coumadin's been around forever. It's pretty cheap. And so your doctor will definitely want to caution you or just make sure that your collard green and other leafy green intake is going to be pretty within, pretty stable, because fluctuations can affect your blood levels of that particular test. That's a medicine that people take for if there is for blood clots, say if they have atrial fibrillation, an irregular heart rhythm, or a clotting disorder, they may be on a medicine called Coumadin or warfarin. So we're going to talk about.
We've got a question from the.
So what are the elderberries? So elderberries are berries. So, which I think what you may be thinking of as far as, because with COVID, the peak of COVID, people were talking about that. It has immune properties, but there's also some precautions you want to take with it. So yeah, I think we actually talked about elderberries before when we were talking about the fruits and berries, because it's a purplish fruit, if I recall correctly.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's I guess that's what you mean as far as the question. But yeah, it has some immune properties, immune function, it improves immune function, but you want to be careful with it because you can't eat them raw or something. And you it's elderberries are kind of special. I'll put it like that.
In a certain way.
Yeah, and there was a concern, I think, with ibuprofen, with elderberries as well. So when the time we have
a question, I have a quick question. I know we're pushing our time, but there are, when people are taking supplements, right? And so yes. I think a lot of times people take that multivitamin, but I've also read in some areas where like some vitamins are best to be taken on an empty stomach, some are best to be taken on a full stomach. But if that's the case and you're taking a multivitamin, with that, that can't be good, right? Because if you're supposed to take one on a full stomach and another one on an empty stomach, but they're all in one multivitamin, then one of them can't be working properly, right?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. I honestly can't speak to that because I'm not a pharmacist, but you kind of stole my thunder, because what I was going to say is the question. No, that's okay. The question is, about supplements. Do you even need them? And I mentioned earlier that it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. More than a third of Americans take supplements, and mineral supplements or multivitamins make up 40% of all vitamin sales, and 30% of adults 65 and older take 4 or more supplements. There you go. Take 4 or more supplements of any kind. So the short answer, though, is, I rattled off a bunch of foods that these things can be found in, right? So for the average person, if you're eating a plant-based diet, guess what? You really shouldn't need supplements. And so, especially not mega doses. And this is where we really get concerned, because people think, if I take 1, 3 might be even better. And you can actually have toxic side effects, high doses of high levels of vitamin C, vitamin E. Those can actually be harmful. So, the short answer I would say is, of course, talk with your doctor, make sure what's going on for you, with you. But there are exceptions to that. We mentioned earlier, pregnant women need folic acid if you're not getting the best diet, because you're, the first 12 weeks of your pregnancy, you're vomiting everything up, everything makes you nauseous. Then yes, you're going to need a supplement. If you have certain GI conditions where your GI tract does not absorb nutrients, like they should, and you're losing weight and you can't gain weight, you can't hold on to nutrition, then obviously you might need a supplement. If you're just having, failure to thrive for whatever reason, your doctor may want to put you on that. But what I'm talking about is the average healthy person who should be able to get different foods, different food groups, food types, and should be able to meet their daily requirement. So, and then the way you cook the food too, right? I mean, dark leafy greens like collard greens, sometimes we cook them to death, and you're losing some of those nutrients. That pot liquor.
It's in the pot liquor.
It's in the pot liquor, I guess. But the shorter amount of time you could cook some of that, those foods, that it'd be better for nutrient wise. They say microwaving actually is good because it's short and it's fast. You're not, destroying all the nutrients. Curtis says he was diagnosed with ALS disease 6 years ago and he takes over 40 supplements. So, right. You obviously are someone who has, a special medical condition. And so these comments are definitely not directed towards you. Because you're under
ALS, that's the Lou Gehrig's disease,
Lou
right?
Gehrig's, yes.
Yeah, okay.
And so
Well, Curtis, we're praying for you and your
definitely. Thank you for sharing your story. But yes, the average person, and under a physician's direction as well is the key point there, I think, as well. So before we go, I did want to talk about the sleepy chicken challenge. Now, I don't know if any of you have heard of this. My son is in college, so this might be more for, and I hope he's old enough to know better than to do this. I probably need to have this conversation with him. But for you parents or caretakers of tweens or young adolescents, the sleepy chicken challenge, and this is like one of the dumbest things I've ever heard of, but it's out there. Someone got the bright idea of basically boiling chicken in Nyquil. It's a social media thing. The only good thing about this is because it's on social media and people's attention spans are like that, hopefully it'll blow over pretty soon. But the reason I mention it is because it's actually harmful. It can actually be very harmful. First of all, Nyquil and chicken are both expensive. Why you would waste them this way, I have no idea. But basically what they do is they boil the chicken in the Nyquil. And whether they eat it or not, I don't know. I don't really know the point of this. But the health concern is that Nyquil is the nighttime sleepy, stuffy nose, headache, whatever medicine.
Yeah.
Because it's got multiple. It's got Tylenol or acetaminophen. It's got dextromethorphan, which is a cough medicine, and then it has an antihistamine to help with congestion called doxylamine. And so people think oftentimes, if it's over the counter, it's okay. Well, it's not. I mean, aspirin can be harmful. Acetaminophen can be harmful, and those are over the counter. So what their concern or what the reports are that when they boil this, think about when you are cooking, right? If something is too watery, what do? You let it simmer, you let the water cook off so it gets thicker and more concentrated. Well, that can happen with the ingredients, the chemicals, the medicines in the Nyquil. So those vapors can get inhaled into the lungs, can harm the lungs, can cause the blood levels to go up. And these medicines can cause harm. I mean, excessive doses of Tylenol can blow your liver out. The cough medicine, you can get sedation, you can get seizures, the antihistamine, respiratory problems. So, lock up your medicine over the counter or not. Like if you get a prescription over the counter, supplements, lock all that stuff up out of the reach of children. And, hopefully this will blow over soon. But I came across this in one of my medical things. I was like, what is this? Why?
Why do all the challenges have to be so just idiotic? Like
idiotic.
The Tide Pod challenge was stupid. The
cinnamon,
the cinnamon challenge was dumb, but at least it wasn't as harmful where you had to try to swallow
if you inhale that stuff though, that's an irritant.
It was just
not good for you.
Just trying to swallow a teaspoon of cinnamon. Like what I don't know. I'm sounding like an old man.
You are, but I'm right there I'm right there on the porch with you. But I mean, to me, I'm like, go read a book. Like if you're that bored or something, go read a book or do something that won't harm you.
There is so many other things to use your time for. Not creating
lock up your cold medicine and lock up your chicken, apparently, because
it's boiling Nyquil. I wouldn't even. Okay, all right.
The sleepy chicken challenge. So, and
the most I ever saw was like when I was a freshman in college in the dorm, the RA, and I'm gonna say his name because it was years ago, so it's not like he's gonna get in trouble.
The statute of limitations has expired.
So like they used to give you that freshman pack, right? The little box, they give it to you, and it have all these little things like aspirin, and like they had a little bottle of Nyquil, right? So RA is supposed to distribute it. So Nyquil back in the day, I don't think it does anymore, but back in the days it was like 25% alcohol. Right. That was the sleeping agent that they put in it back in the day.
Right.
So, and he would say it on the bottle, like 25% alcohol. Like it was like, and so the RA would take all the NyQuil out of the kid's freshman pack and he would drink it and he would get drunk off of
Of
drinking
course
the NyQuil.
he would.
Drinking
Wow.
it. So he'd be walking around the floor like drunk, drink with a NyQuil bottle in his hand. And I was like, that was the worst thing I saw with NyQuil.
Well, nowadays, we have Lil Wayne or whoever to thank for sipping on scissor or whoever said that.
Yeah,
But
that's a promethazine. Yeah,
right, right.
yeah.
So yeah. So
Not that
anything.
I know anything about that.
The whole point here is
That
like
rolled off
anything.
too quick. That rolled off too quick.
Yeah, it really did, Ellis. We might need to talk off after the show. But no, I mean the point is that anything can be abused, but just parents be aware. It's hard out here for parents. It is hard. It's just like, what is going on? There were a couple more questions about how do I feel about medical marijuana. I think, again, under prescription doctors, prescription and monitoring, there's been studies to show it's helpful for things like chronic pain, headache, HIV, weight loss, things like that. So, what if anything should we put back?
Real quick, we talked about this recently. I was doing a show on cancer, and one of the things about we were doing a show on glaucoma. And one of the things they said about medical marijuana and glaucoma specifically was it does relieve the pressure on the eyes, and so that but when the high wears off, the pressure comes back, and so it's a temporary fix. Now for pain, it does have it has a different effect, but like you have to continue to utilize it, so you have to just be careful. Work with your physician and work with them in terms of that.
And then there's the question about what, if anything, should we put back in our system if on blood pressure medication? That's a great question. So I'm going to start by saying, first of all, speak with your doctor. But typically, it depends on the type of blood pressure that you're on. If it is a diuretic or a water pill that makes you pee off fluid, the concern would be that you're losing potassium and other minerals. However, there are other blood pressure medicines that raise your potassium level. So often you'll be on a combination of the two medicines because they'll have a neutral effect on your potassium levels. So that's a great question. But definitely you want to speak with your doctor about that because there's a lot that can go into that. But again, I hope if you take nothing else away from this show, everything we've been saying about the plant-based diet, eat the rainbow, all of that stuff, same applies here because you're going to be getting more often than not typical or adequate amounts of the vitamins and minerals needs of most people. So.
And there are some diets. We did a show on diets, on different diets. There are some diets that are shown to be effective in terms of helping you regulate your blood pressure naturally.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say talk to your physician first about those diets and see if that was something, because we love people to get off medication, right? So if you're on it, but make sure you work with your physician on that.
Definitely, always. And I do want to say one more thing about supplements, because again, people have, I think, a false sense of security that they're over the counter or they're supplements and they're okay for me to take. But please be aware that there can be interactions, as I mentioned earlier, with the collard greens and the medication there, and people who are blood thinner medicine. There could also be interaction between supplements and prescription medications. Yes. So just, if you're thinking about taking a supplement, please just take it to your doctor, ask, hey, do I need this? And if you're on medicine, what should I be aware of? Or do you recommend that I combine these two?
And correct me if I'm wrong, some of those supplements aren't regulated by the FDA.
And that's the other thing. They're not even, they're not FDA regulated. And so there can be impurities in them. There can be other agents in them that are, contaminants or other things that are not, like if there's, that can affect their efficacy because there may not be as potent as something else that was used in a study or what have you. So good point.
Just be careful. We're not saying don't do it. But just be careful.
I'm saying don't do it. I'm saying to eat the rainbow, and if you have certain medical conditions, to speak to your physician about it. I'd say start with what's on your plate first, and if you are advised that you need to fill in or supplement, then go with what your doctor.
Adding more fruits and vegetables to your diet will eliminate the need for most
nuts and seeds.
Most times will eliminate the need for supplements. So just nuts, seeds, and fruits and vegetables, you'll be fine. And grass-fed beef.
You stayed too long, Ellis. See, this is what happens when we run over. This is what happens. Name of the show is Vegan-ish. But it's been wonderful.
I'm the ish. She's the vegan. I'm the ish.
That's right. That's right. There you go. There you go. So I see one more question about a physician will not tell you one way or the other about supplements and they make them liable. So don't even waste your time asking. This is wasted advice. Some doctors may not be comfortable giving that advice. So again, that's certainly a conversation that you have to have with your physician. So until next time.
Pharmacists will help you too. Pharmacists are really good for that kind of information too. Very, very good for that.
So until next time, we are going to sign off. And as usual, I'm Dr. Monique. Follow me on all social media at Physician in the Kitchen. Grab my book, Doc Fix My Plate, The Physician in the Kitchen's Prescriptions for Your Healthy Meal Makeover at docfixmyplatebook.com. See you next time.